allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Here.
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 Here. Agenda, there's a couple amendments. D, under action items, is removed. And G, we're adding street repair bids. Any others?
I'd like to take off E, because it's just, everyone is just saying this tonight. I'd like everyone to have a chance to look at it and bring it back next month as an action item. Thank you.
Any other changes? Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make that.
Support. Support by Chapman. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Approval of minutes of June 10th, 2015.
The only question I had was regarding buying the data box for Lela, because we spent money. Do we need to include how much we spent on there, or is this just a FYI thing?
Hang on one second. We've got a public hearing. We've got a public
Wrong
hearing.
one.
Public hearing. Minutes committee to approve. My mistake. Any motion to approve the
I'll
public
make the
hearing
motion.
of June 10th?
I'll make that.
Okay. Support by Clark. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now we'll get to last month's minutes for the regular board meeting. And what they're saying.
That was the third motion down, because we spent money. I don't know if we need to put in a dollar amount for the data box, or if this is just here for information.
Was the data box purchased?
It didn't cost us anything, we paid monthly for in the product,
Okay,
but that's included in the budget already.
okay. Does that answer your question?
Sort of, yeah, thanks.
Any other issues? Motion to accept the minutes from the last meeting. Chapman, support?
Support.
Support by Todd. There. Any further comment? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public comment? Good to go. Reports. Scott is not here. Al is here to ask or answer any questions we might have. Scott's coaching Little League baseball game. Anybody have anything for Al? Looks like police report is okay. DPW, Sam.
Everybody has a copy of my DPW operations. Sorry, they're typed out kind of small. The bridge, State Street Bridge inspection has been done, good for 2 more years. That was number 11. And number 12, the wastewater permit has been renewed for 5 more years. Larry, when do you want me to talk about the water meter issue? When you get down to action items?
When we get down.
Okay, any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Lyle, campground?
Well, the last couple of weeks have been pretty rough and exciting. And it's been pretty much status quo, cutting grass, moving people in, moving them out, taking reservations and so forth. Got involved with the 4th of July stuff over there. I thought it was a pretty good turnout for everybody. chicken barbecue down there, to assist them with getting things around and so forth. Other than that, we've had full house for the last 2 weeks. We got a couple openings right now, they should. We got 5 openings, and they should fill up tomorrow night.
Any questions for Lyle? Thank you. Correspondence. I think you all have one letter here dated yesterday with respect to the reservations of the pavilion. His family's been doing it for years, and they attempted to get the same day that they've always had, and were told that they couldn't do it, so this is a letter that we'll need to respond to, or I will need to respond to. But if anybody would like to throw their 2 cents in, fine.
Which pavilion is it?
The big one.
What's the date?
Saturday.
July 3rd Saturday in July, whatever that is. 11/18/25.
In the letter, they say that they were told they couldn't. Do we have a policy that says you can't reserve a year out?
Doesn't that fall the same day as the open fest, the outdoor fest? That's why it's, because that park will be full for that open fest.
I did not tell them that they couldn't reserve. I told them I did not have a calendar and I couldn't take the reservation at that time. I told them to take it, come down here and see Rachel, because she had a calendar. That's what I told them.
Is this an open letter to the public, or is it just to the council?
Says to whom it may concern, so it's to the council.
They do state in here that they were told that they can't reserve until May 8th. Until after the 8th of May is their statement.
I never told them that. They got a hold of me, I was late in the fall. Did not have a new calendar at that time, I told them to down see Rachel.
So she's writing on July 7th, but she's talking about something that happened last fall.
She come around after the fact, I did not have a new calendar, and told her to see Rachel, and with being that I'm moving out, it would be easier for Rachel to take that at that time, and to want to go that far ahead. So that's what happened on that one. I'm sorry to hear that, but what would have happened if we would have taken it and, what would have happened with your, Summerfest?
This came, oh, yeah, I found that.
Yes.
This came up a couple years ago, and Joe, you called me on that. You said that, either you guys could put up some tents for them, or they could use the Lions Club Pavilion.
Close that, yes. I said that we would, since we already had the reservations, that we would talk with the Lions Club to see if we could use their building. They had always been good at letting us in the past. And I believe from what I have known with the Lions, that they have said we're allowed to use that building and to maintain it. So I would think that's still.
How many people are they
They
expecting?
got a large reunion, a little pavilion probably would not accommodate.
Okay.
They're good people, they don't get around it.
I, as the chamber president, will step into this and say if they want the large pavilion, then they can have the large pavilion. We will take the small pavilion. That's agreeable. To everybody to work together.
It's agreeable to them, that's fine with me. I don't know what everybody else.
They're gonna work for you.
Mhm.
We'll make it work.
We'll make it
This
work.
is where we had that conversation before about being able to plan all the time, and now knowing that your guys' outdoor fest is always that third Saturday in July also, it makes us be able to.
Last year, a business person stepped up and roped it off, and they you know, had their beer tent and stuff, but we can always, we can change, this is no big deal, so keep everybody happy,
You just might wanna let them know parking will be an issue,
yeah,
because we blocked that part of the road off
thanks, Sam.
for the outdoor fest.
That's Lake Street, you block off?
Yeah, Lake Street by the pavilion, but you still got state, and, you know, like everybody parks for the park, wherever they can find one.
Issue solved for the time being, as long as they agree to it, right? We got a notice of Sharon Schultz out of the Treasurer's Department in the county, that there's a retirement party for her on Friday, July 17th, 3 to 5 p.m. in the Board of Commissioners room of the county building. And FYI, if anybody would like to attend, I'm sure you're welcome. And then I got another email from the council did, from a woman, I'm not sure where she came from, but she said, I visited the family over the weekend at their beautiful Intermediate Lake house. I also attended the 4th of July parade, which was lovely. One thing that stuck out more than anything was the lack of any ethnic people in the crowd or parade. I made a comment that this has to be the whitest town I've ever seen. What gives? I was very uncomfortable by the fact and also very sad. I can't imagine how anyone of color might feel walking into your town. She signed it, Kathy. Yeah, I do have a last name here, but I don't think that's irrelevant. I'm sharing it. I don't know what we can do about it, other than if a brother or sister walks through the door, we'll treat them like we do anybody else, I hope. So,
In India, we have to walk uptown every day.
We've had colored people in town, I've seen some children walking around, I don't know if they live here or what, but I've seen them around. Just trying to
Anyway.
report them in for next year.
we'll put out a sign.
Let them know this, run the application. Help. Yeah.
This is the friendliest white town in America.
Do you write them back?
Yeah, but I don't know what to say. I will respond
Do
to
we have,
it.
do we have a census that says what our
Yeah,
population
actually, we
is?
do that data in the master plan, you can just shoot her to that.
Yeah.
Like so many percents and whatnot we have here.
I mean, obviously, it impacted her ability to see what's going on around here, so.
We've had them in the campground for the last 3 or 4 years.
She had no business.
And what ethnic is he talking about? So I'm assuming most of it's black, because you can distinguish them from other folks, but, I just, in this day and age, I find it amazing, but that's okay. Next, the last correspondence. Committee reports. Street sidewalks and lights, Rob.
Let's see, sidewalks, Sam repaired the sidewalk, crossing the school that, over by the water main, the water main that broke underneath it. We did have a street collapse due to, broken, or split water line from last winter on North Street, east of 88. They patched that already. Let's see, nothing on lights. Streets, I've got an action item on G there, and I've got all kinds of handouts for everybody, so I'll just hold off on that until I have the action item. And that's it.
Rod, sewer and water?
Nothing aside from what Sam has in the DPW report. Repaired sewer line on Green Street, and in the process of repairing water meters, which he's gonna talk about that. 5 water lines to the light poles downtown. Sewer line to campground, and the water sample was forwarded to the DEQ. Sewer permit's good for 5 more years, so, but nothing catastrophic or nothing.
Accused Bill, law enforcement?
As everybody knows, the new car is here and in service, and no big problem so far. Everybody seems to be pretty well pleased with it, and I think it's a nice machine. I think we get years of service on it. Other than that, we got Chief Scott's report here, so I think that pretty much covers it.
The only thing I can add is I think there were only 2 complaints on the 4th that he had to address. What they were, I don't know. Melissa, communication?
My report is basically this, as you know, I took that Michigan Planner, course over, basically it felt like the whole dang summer, but, I've written up a little synopsis that I'll just read quick. I need to do this so that I can get my master planner certification. I'm required to give you this quick spiel, yeah, so here it is. Starting in April and ending in June, I attended training entitled Michigan Citizen Planner, Fundamentals of Planning and Zoning. This is a land use and certificate course for volunteer land use decision makers. It was developed by Michigan State University and taught by MSU regional office staff as well as PhD instructors from the university. The class was from 6 to 9 each week, total of 21 hours in training. The cost of the class equated about $13 per hour for the instruction I received. The next step for me is presenting this capstone project to you. Then I take an online exam to cover the material we studied in the course. On completion of the exam, I get the master planner certification. To maintain it, I've got to take some minimal CEU credits from MSU. Once I pass the test, I'll get the certification within 10 days. I believe the class was very valuable and wish that more of us could have attended. There was a lot of stuff in this that I had no clue on. I mean, you see this book here, it's very intense, and it was thankful it's over. But I would do it all again just to get the information out of it. You can see here we did introduction to planning and zoning, legal foundations, roles and responsibilities about the master plan, planning implementation, best practices for innovative planning and zoning, and the art of community planning. So if anybody really wants to look at this, here it is. But it was a really good class, and thank you everyone for letting me go to that. And then the other thing I have to add is we have the new brochures out. If anybody hasn't seen these yet, then there they are for the campgrounds. They're all spread around. And that's all I got.
Joe, finance personnel?
Looked over the revenue expenditure, we look to be pretty good in it. I've got some questions on some bills that I've seen pop in today. One is Melissa stated the brochures for the campground, well, we got a great price on them, much better than what we paid last year. When did the council approve purchasing these brochures?
I had the authority to do it. The council approved it a year ago.
So now, we approved it a year ago to
To go ahead and purchase the new ones, yes.
That was approved a year ago.
Did we purchase
and-
250 of them last year?
and
We approved.
we ran out, and it was approved before I went home last year to take and get them, and nobody done anything over the winter with them.
Okay, so it was approved then, that's my question.
Yes, it was
Okay.
approved.
Okay.
And we got a better deal even with the 500 than we would have with the 250.
You're right, because he already had the
Right.
template for it, okay. And my other one would be in our lawyer's fees. We just received a bill, $217 to review administrative documents, telephone call to the village president regarding matters, review statutes, memo to the village president regarding issues raised. What documents are we having the lawyers look at now?
You'll have a report here when I get to my report. The documents that I had him review were the village administrative structure, essentially is what he was looking at. I gave him the campground host document, I gave him the rules and regs of the park, and online he accessed our policy, procedures, and guidelines.
And again, I guess again, I would ask that same question, is when did council discuss sending these things to our lawyer to spend
Council
taxpayer
didn't.
money?
Council didn't. This is, my authority gives me the authority to keep track of the affairs of this village. And I saw something that happened that I didn't like, and I wanted this information in order to come here tonight.
Okay. And that's the end of my report.
Lela, Art?
Well, we've had a couple of problems, but it'll be brought up into the action items. So I think I'll reserve any comment until then.
My report, I'm gonna pass out the information, the attorney, summary of what information I had asked him to look at. And I will read it to everybody. And we can discuss it. Yeah. Think, you got one? Everybody have one? Okay. General review of the village administrative structure. Pursuant to your request, I have conducted a general review of the village administrative structure. Specifically, I have reviewed some job descriptions in the village council policy, procedures, and guidelines handbook. The following is a general list of my findings. There are many inconsistencies throughout these documents. For example, you provided me a job description for a position entitled campground host. The park rules refer to this individual as park manager. Finally, their policy refers to this individual as the campground manager. I found that the job descriptions reviewed do not specify who the immediate supervisor is for the employee. I also found in the policy where the village specifies the 6 standing committees of the village council. The policy, however, does not specify any administrative authority of the committees and the committee chairpersons over village employees under the jurisdiction of the committees. Under Michigan law, MCL 64.1, the village president shall exercise supervision over the affairs of the village. The statute, however, does not specify whether the affairs of the village include the supervision of village employees. Generally speaking, an individual council member does not have authority to act on behalf of the village unless expressly delegated that authority by the council. The authority of a village council member can only be exercised at council or committee meeting through the vote of the council or committee itself. When the village council was considering whether to have a village administrator, I explained that there were 2 different administrative structures that could be implemented. First, a village administrator could be established. Under this model, the administrator would be delegated the authority to oversee, supervise, and discipline village employees. The second administrative model was that these functions could be exercised by the village president and/or the village council, either as a whole or through its committee structure. Because the current policies do not specify clear administrative responsibilities, particularly as they relate to village employees, it is my recommendation that the council discuss how it desires to supervise village employees. Once this policy decision is made, I would be happy to prepare appropriate amendments to the village policies to implement this decision. If you have any questions or need anything further concerning this matter, please let me know. The only thing I asked him was if he cared if I shared this with the council and the public tonight, and he said he didn't have any problem with it. This was done because I have, for almost 7.5 months, dedicated my job in this position to somehow heal the division that was going on prior to my election. And this all boils down, from my perspective, to a single decision that has and still persists to continue to divide and cause an atmosphere of mistrust and really a bunch of crap that we shouldn't have to deal with. That decision was to hire a clerk treasurer, but then give that person the administrative authority to manage the village. That decision in itself, and it's not a reflection on Rachel. From my perspective, Rachel was put in the position that she was a no-win situation. The decision was made without her having any administrative or supervisory experience. And as it was so aptly put to put to me early on is that they wanted her, and they, I'm not sure who they are, other than at least the past council prior to my getting here, wanted her to grow into this position. The reasoning was we'd been through 6 or 7 clerk treasurers, and it was time to get somebody that would stay here, providing her with an income that she could live from. That's fine and dandy. I had no problems with that. Other than the fact that the decision divided this community, and I think the community statement last fall said, we're tired of it. I get elected. If I listen to everybody complaints prior to getting here, Rachel probably wouldn't be sitting here tonight. When Mr. Bodley called me about 10, 12 days ago to explain that he was giving me a heads up that the park manager, who we call host or campground manager, was having problems with a bunch of the campers down there. And rather than go to Lyle and say, what was the decision and why did you make it? Mr. Bodley proceeded to a friend of his, gave him his opinion as to the issue at hand, which was surrounding the fire pits with bricks, which Lyle said you couldn't do. It was a Lyle policy. I have no problem with that. We hired him to do a job. I would like to know why he made that decision. And I think your first move as a representative of this council was to go to Lyle and say, why did you make that decision? But instead, you went down and said, this guy's a friend of mine. And as far as I'm concerned, bricks around the fireplace is no big deal. I think it probably isn't a big deal in the big picture of everything. But it was an action that is dividing this community. We hire these people to do jobs. If you don't support them in that job, then why do you hire them? Any questions or comments?
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
All right. Well, first, before you call me out like that, you should probably talk to me and ask me what I told this camper, which is very plainly, when I stopped and talked to him to sit by his fire, he told me his ordeal and what he had discussed, and I said, me personally, I don't see a problem with it, but I'm one member of the council, and that's a council decision, not mine. You should have called me and asked me before you do this. I had no reason to go talk to Lyle about it because it wasn't an issue there yet. I called you 10 days ago because I received a bunch of complaints of our campground manager, and it's not my job to police our campground manager, host, or whatnot. It's yours. So I called you to give you the heads up, the courtesy call. So make sure we get our story straight there.
I got my story straight. I know what happened from my side.
May I say something on this, please? I have requested Joe to come to me if he's got a problem with Lyle, since I am the park administrative of the group. We have 3 in our council who are handling the park. And we go to Lyle, present to him any problems. He in turn comes to us and we take it before the council. And this gentleman swore coming down that he had talked to everyone in the council, including me, and I called him a liar because he had never said nothing to me. And I understand he is your fishing buddy, fine, but I don't like the reports that I get back secondhand.
The chain of command, in my opinion, goes from Larry to the council. He's the chief administrative executive.
Yes, I agree.
So when I don't have a problem with Lyle. I had campers complaining to me about certain issues. I directed them and told our president about them. It's up to him to relay that to you guys, not me.
I've got 3 questions. One, quote, you said, Larry, public said we're tired of it. It being the position of clerk treasurer or discord amongst this whole?
Discord.
All right, thank you. 2, on the Joe Bodley situation, it goes back to statement number 5 by the lawyer here, and I'm gonna read it out loud. Generally speaking, an individual council member does not have the authority to act on behalf of the village. So that statement alone would exonerate him from going down to him, because unless expressly delegated that the authority by the village council. He did not have the authority to go down and deal with that situation, based on what it says on our lawyer. The authority of the village council member can only be exercised at a council or committee meeting through the votes of the council or committee itself. Which brings me to full circle here. What happens if there is a complaint? Let's say someone levels a complaint against Scott and stops me. That Scott, I don't know, whatever he did. What's our next move? That's the bigger picture.
That's a good question.
Agreed.
I think
So-
that's where we need some more input from the attorney to clarify our roles and clean up what's already out there to be consistent with all of that.
I myself feel very uncomfortable telling any of these employees what to do. That I don't think it's my place at all. If they wanna tell me something, I'll sure will listen, but if someone comes to me and it levels a complaint, I'm gonna try to sidestep it, and I told you. And I ended it there, and that's where we have to be right now, is figure out item number 5. And then number 3, the Lyle policy, will go on from there. So those are my 2 questions.
Anybody else?
I would like to answer that wreck situation down there. Originally, we had fire, stones around the fire pits down there. We got rid of the stones down there because of the kids taking them away from the fire pits and so forth, and they put fire rings on. And that happened several years ago. 3 years ago, he come to me about bricks around the fire pit. And I told him no at that time. I mentioned it to Sam. Sam said we had stones around the fire pits at one time. We got rid of those. Those are a hazard as far as I'm concerned when we start cutting grass and cleaning up sites when they leave and so forth. A clay brick is a fragile brick. And if they get broke and people walking through there and stepped on, the little kids and what have you, if they cut their foot, who's responsible? It's not bad for one site, but you know as well as I do that things will be caught up by the other campers. They don't clean their sites up. This individual don't even clean his site up when he leaves. George Molsky comes over and moves his trailer. There is 2 tires down there yet that he didn't take out of there, tires and wheels. I asked him to take those out of there the first week that he was there. I asked him to remove that. This spring, I removed 13 blocks out of there and piled them up behind the fish cleaning station to clean that site up. I took the steps that Sam was good enough to loan this individual when his wife had a broken hip. They sat there for 3 years and I took them up myself and got them back to Sam. Correct, Sam?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. There's some of the stuff that I do down there for the welfare of everybody. And I think that everybody should have the same opportunity, those campsites, is what the next guy. No one is any better than anybody else. I know that you were in the middle of the conversation with regards to moving a trailer and repositioning the trailer. I might as well answer that right now too, because I did that for 2 reasons. I done that so the individual camper on site 12 could have a view of the water on both sides of his trailer, rather than look directly at the back of his trailer, the back side of his trailer. I also done that so I can sit at that computer there and see the bathroom doors up there, and seeing them coming and going along that back road, sidewalk up to the bathroom. And that's my reason for it. And I try to do the best I can down there, and I am gonna get some complaints, but I have got a problem with an individual board member stepping in and getting in the middle thing. If you got a question, I think it's personal courtesy to take and come directly to the person involved. Bill and I've had discussions, Rob and I've had discussions. Rob, I have no problem answering anything. And I think that all the board members should give me that respect. I'm sorry, I know you got a list of complaints that you're gonna be looking at, but I can tell you right now that I've had a chance to Larry sat down with me and went over those complaints. I've had a chance to take and talk to 3 different individuals, and they don't even know how their name got on those complaints. And I got one down there, has got a tablet down there with emails directly from one of the people that was supposed to complain. And she was supposed to complain too, and she didn't. So, let me run the campground to my best of my ability, and I will take the heat when I have to take the heat, but I'm sorry. This has gone far enough, and I think we all gotta get back on the same page and work this through. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Can I make a comment on the village administrator position?
Yes.
Because we've been through this before, and I don't know if it's not what you want to hear or what, but when we hired a village, and anybody in the council was there can disagree with me if you think I'm wrong on this. We never ever hired a village manager position. We made it very clear we were staying a council form of government. What we were solving was the problem that not one trustee up there or the president has the time to be the person the village goes to 40 hours a week. We can't expect it for what we pay. We never should. We needed that person. That position that Rachel has never gave anybody the type of authority you're leading people to believe. So you talk about an atmosphere of distrust. You're spreading it by not stepping up and saying what's truly her position. Her position was the person that people in this village were able to contact and come to 40 hours a week. They call her on weekends. It was her to watch over what was going on with all the employees that you said you can't expect the trustees to watch over, and to report back to the council the things she sees so the council can make the decisions and deal with it. Rachel in that position had no administrative authority. She can't hire, she can't fire, she can't discipline. So this whole thing of mistrust, if you would just step up and tell people what that position honestly is, you could calm it down quite a bit. And this has been going on since you were elected. You seem to want to attack that position like it takes authority away from you. It never was. There was never anything taken away from the council other than a person in place 40 hours a week. For years, the village operated, there was nobody operating a ship. There was nobody there. The council met once a month, and the affairs of the village the rest of the week were ignored and not dealt with. Once a month, we'd get together and you'd kick the can down the road for another month. And you'd kick it down another month, and there was nobody there, and people were upset because the council wasn't responding because we didn't have anybody in place to deal with it. We created a position so there's somebody there. There are many people who come in and talk to Rachel. She reports to the council. If there's things that aren't getting dealt with, it's your council's fault, not that position's fault. So that's the only reason she was there, and I personally think it works great, and I think people are happy that they have somebody they can go to 40 hours a week and on weekends. So I just hope it's clear what the intent of the council was when we created a 40-hour-a-week position.
That may have been the intent, but I don't think the public understood it that way.
Then it needs to explain better to the public, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
That's all.
That wasn't necessarily my job when I got here. I was
I understand.
the residue of that decision.
We battled the same thing. The public wanted to turn into we did something we didn't. So I just hope people understand. we never wanted to put Rachel in a position to hire, fire, discipline, correct, anything. It was just that person who was there finally, 40 hours a week. It's silly to think the village can exist without somebody in that position to watch over things and report back. You know, I know nobody expects you guys to do it for what you make. So we had to create a position where you could pay somebody that could be that person.
I disagree.
I'm confused at 40 hours a week, if our hours are now 8 to 4, and you're saying that she's working weekends, and are we paying her for 40 hours a week, or what's?
She's salaried at 40 hours a week.
But in the office, 8 to 4, Monday through Thursday? No, I'm confused, I don't understand what happened.
I'm supposed to be on call 24/7 with my cell phone, 7 days a week. When I go home, I forward all of my calls from my office phone to my home phone, and I take calls. I document every phone call I take. Am I just supposed to give you guys those hours and not take it off?
No, I don't know where I've seen anywhere that she works 24/7, 7 days a week is my,
I haven't.
my,
Show her the log.
I will show you, you can come
yeah,
to my
I mean,
office
no,
and
no,
look
I
at my
mean,
phone
what's,
log.
are we getting calls at midnight or 1 o'clock, or, I mean,
I guess,
8 p.m. on Sunday night, 9 p.m. on Sunday night. Campground people calling, wanting to know directions, wanting to know what's available in the area for them to camp at.
why don't they just call the campground? I don't understand what's happening here.
Campground
You
don't
can't be the
have a
mind
number.
of the person
That's,
calling
they
though.
took the phone away
That's
from
conjecture.
Lyle.
Nobody
Speculation.
took the phone away from Lyle.
They
He's
took the
got a
number
cell
off the
phone, there's
thing.
numbers everywhere out there.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't on the last brochures.
and the other thing is, and it was the same conversation then about needing some uninterrupted time to deal with things that need done in the office. So everybody keeps saying she doesn't work 40 hours. She doesn't have 40 office hours. There's a lot of businesses that way where people's face-to-face time there isn't the hours they truly work. She'll come in and work on a Friday. She'll work late some evening, you know? I just think that makes perfect sense. That gives her that uninterrupted time in the office to deal with the work of the village, the finances, everything else, without the distraction of the public. You know, I just think it's a perfect
Well, I don't
situation.
think it's the clerk's position to be taking midnight calls. I mean, if the office is open 8 to 4,
And that's why I have the
That's-
administrative assistant position as well.
seems weird here.
I think it's great she takes them. First, you want the people to have somebody to go to, then they have somebody to go to, now you complain we don't think they should be going to her.
I'm not
I don't
complaining.
understand
I'm
what you
saying
want.
I don't understand why we're having the village clerk taking midnight calls. We don't have an answering machine. If it's a campground issue, you know, call Lyle, or if it's a DPW issue, call Sam.
And I
Why
do forward calls
is
on
this like
people.
this?
My number is what they call.
All right, so now we've got two issues. The issue of the 24/7 position here, and item number 5 on the lawyer's memo here. The personnel department consists of Joe Bodley, Bill Chapman, and Rob Thier. Am I correct? How does that fall into item number 5? Are they part of personnel then? Do they do employee evals? Have you folks ever met and discussed personnel issues or no?
Not in a long time. It had been discussed quite some time ago, when job descriptions were done, there was different ones. Sam did his evaluations on his guys, Scott his.
We've talked about this before. I brought this up, evaluations of employees, since I've been on council, and maybe we need to have a hardcore look at what's going on.
Well, I can't think the personnel department, I think Larry has to be there, but you have 4 there, and you couldn't have a meeting because that would violate the Open Meetings Act. So,
Well, here,
now where are we at?
my thinking is if we have, like, for example, the Parks Committee, the 3 of us meet, we talk with Lyle, we come back to the board, we make recommendations, on we go. So I would assume that each committee would do those chores, meetings and whatnot to make, you know, it's not up to Rachel to write a policy, it's up to us, right? It's not, we don't task her with writing our policies for us, she may type them out, but she's not creating them. that's our job.
I'm stuck in
Am I right? I mean,
Sorry.
so I think really just everyone knowing their roles and who's doing what. I mean, you've heard me say, you know, what's the mission statement of the Parks Committee? What's the Parks Committee actually supposed to do? What's Joe's committee actually supposed to do? And when and how, and do we have any plans for the future, for making evaluations or doing some of these things that we're sitting here wondering about right now?
And concerns of the public about an employee, and that's the crux of the matter. It doesn't matter who it is, and you don't need to point fingers, item number 5 has got to be solved.
Well, I think we definitely need a complaint process somewhere in that, because, you know, people complain to me, I'm sure they've complained to you, but what do we do? You know, I can't just come up here and say, oh, boo-hoo, 5 of my buddies told me that, you know, so-and-so is blah, blah, blah. You know, I can't do anything with 5 words in my ear, but if I have 5 pieces of paper every month from, you know, a complaint, you know, like a letter or whatever, then we have data that can...
That's what this started out as, as I got complaints and I was getting calls from our office telling me that people were coming in complaining. I told her to document everybody and what.
What do you have behind that? Those are written.
These are the complaints that are supposed people who came in, and this is Rachel's interpretation of the conversation she had with them.
Is that through the park?
So has anybody
No,
else
this
on
is
this board seen
Rachel's.
those complaints?
No, but is that
Where
from
is
the
he?
park? Is that complaints from the park
It should
itself?
be,
This people, yes, I believe some are from the park and some are from other areas.
and Lela, the chairperson, should see that, don't you think?
Absolutely. The chairperson of the committee should be aware of what's going on. And if I don't know of any of these complaints, I can't do anything about
She
it.
can't talk to us
And-
3 for us to talk
And
about it
again,
and
my
try to find
response when I got
solutions.
these was document it and give it to Mr. Eckhardt. I called Mr. Eckhardt and gave him a heads up that I had received a bunch of complaints that Rachel had called me and told me that she had, and I told her to document and she would get them to him. It's now up to him to do his job and give you guys the information.
My only thought, listening to it, we go back to what Rob said. If each committee has control over their employee, or control might be the wrong word, they evaluate. What is the personnel committee there for then? I mean, I personally think you should have one committee that isn't closely tied to any of them, that evaluates every employee outside of that. Not that, I agree, it's been that way for years. You need to figure out what everybody's doing, every committee's responsibility.
Well, then you start to look at that in that sentence too, though, Ken, is if you have a personnel committee who isn't involved with any other committee, how do they know whether they're doing their job or not? And how do you evaluate somebody that you're not involved with? So you almost have to have that interaction anyway.
I would think the recommendation from the chairperson should then go to the council. And I think the president should be involved in all these evaluations. And each committee, like Lela just said, she needed to know about them. You need to know if there's a problem with finances, you know? Sorry,
If there wasn't an adversarial atmosphere when I got elected, Rachel would not have told me that I was coming after her.
Mhm.
And you said that,
I still feel that way.
yeah? See?
Yeah, there's,
And you said he's coming after you, and I busted my ass the other direction in trying to get you to trust me to the fact that I'm not coming after you. I've got the village business in mind. When I asked to get you a clerk treasurer, deputy clerk treasurer, no, you don't want one because you're afraid somebody's gonna take your job.
why do I need one?
Because I don't think the responsibilities that you have, you can do on your own, all of them.
Well, when I come to you with complaints that a council member has come to me and verbally abused me and demanded stuff from me,
Yeah.
and you say, oh, they're getting older and that's just how they are. I feel that
That wasn't her comment, that was his.
that's wrong. I was in a hostile environment. I've been working in a hostile environment since
Guys,
I can't
I'll-
hear
December.
anymore.
Go ahead, Rachel, sorry.
Between people coming in and demanding things from me and yelling at me and raising their voice at me and sending me emails all the time about requesting documents that are available online. And how am I supposed to do my village job when I'm getting treated this way? And I don't like coming to work because I don't know what I'm gonna deal with the next day.
I'll tell you guys, I'm gonna jump in here, I'm gonna tell you, I have recommended to Rachel, I've suggested that she seeks legal counsel on the hostile work environment and the inappropriate comments that Larry made to her about her being pregnant. So the council is fully aware of that.
What did I make?
It is a documented,
Comment did I make?
it is signed by another person that they
What
overheard.
comment did I make about you being pregnant?
You said she's already pregnant, I can't hurt her. And it was after a DBA meeting.
And another person heard it, and they signed this document also.
Okay. And there was no hostile environment before I got here. This is all just started? Is that what you're saying? Huh?
It's not what I'm saying, but it's just
Okay.
gotten worse, and it's not gotten better.
You're right, it hasn't.
No, it has.
It hasn't.
And I have.
And that's why I'm trying to do what I'm trying to do. It hasn't gotten better. I didn't know, I had not heard one negative comment about Lyle and the job that he was doing in the park until I get a phone call from Joe and you're,
I'm not making these things up.
I'm
You
not.
can ask the township clerk or other people that are in this building, how many people come in and out of my office.
Rob, you're around the park and campers, have you heard complaints?
Yes.
Mr.
And,
Thier?
but I forwarded them right to Larry, so I'm exonerated.
And that is what I did. Same thing.
And I feel that it's
And
part
I'm
of
not
my
perfect.
job to document things and pass them on to you. And what I give you was how I saw things.
yes. I'm not accusing you of lying.
Sure what it sounds like.
I don't interpret it
I
as
don't
lying
interpret
at
that
all.
either.
I can sit down with
That's
Lyle
not
and he
cool
can
to
say
say.
the same thing. He says, I'm ready to walk out of here. I don't need to put up with this crap. It's being aired tonight, so we can finally bring it to some kind of closure, which will take some more time, but we'll get there sooner or later.
I've been,
I may not be here because of my comments that I made to Rachel. I'll probably get sued and I'll be out of this job. No problem.
Rachel, do you have a lot of interruptions down here while you're working?
What do you mean interrupt?
I mean, a lot of people just dropping in
And
and.
sitting and doing nothing.
No, because people have been told they can't come down and talk to me and sit in my office. If somebody comes in, it's generally about village business. Making a campground reservation, or asking a question about this, or paying their taxes, or paying their water bill. But I know that people have been told not to come sit in my office. It doesn't distract me to have somebody come into my office. I multitask. Since I was 12 years old, I've always had 2 jobs, if not more. I have 2 kids and put myself in school. I've got 2 degrees.
Who told you they couldn't have people in the office? Is it the personnel department, or personnel group, or chair people?
Or village
Or
president,
is it,
did I tell you couldn't have visitors?
No, but I've been told by other people that they were told by certain people that they couldn't come in my office.
Other people told other people to tell you to not have people in your office. It wasn't Larry or anybody on this board.
I've been approached by Larry and told that I spend too much time in the office when I'm looking at documents. And Cruzy was in the office one time and was approached by Larry that he was in the office too long.
I get phone calls to say
Yeah.
someone's been there for 2 hours. I think that's too long. If you can't,
Yeah.
that was a lie.
well, the reason I,
Well, I have now.
no, it wasn't a lie, because I'm the one that texted Larry and told him. Ken sat in the office for 3 hours that day.
But Scott,
I know that for a fact.
Scott can have people sitting in his office for that amount of time and nothing is said. I don't understand this. Why is it that it's one place and one person that seems to be getting about this?
Sounds like, to me, I'm sitting here, sounds like Rachel has a ton of things to do. number one. First of all, she should get a message machine. If she's off on the weekends, and I don't know who's, you have a cell phone, Rachel, and stuff, phones are sent to you, correct? All hours of the day and night? Then she should, when she leaves work, then she should have that voicemail put on. If you're chairman of something, you should be notified. If you're chairman, whoever the chair people are, if there's a problem with DPW, Sam, that's what, he's an employee, that's what he should get notified for. That's just my opinion.
It ain't gonna
But
work
for her
that
to
way.
get, pardon?
I don't want people calling me at midnight for a campground.
Well, they wouldn't be.
No, they would call you
There's
for
a
your
law.
chairperson's duties, a legal thing or something.
They would-
I still don't want people calling me in the middle of the night for,
You get called because of Scott, is what people
and
are
I don't want
doing.
that either.
And I don't want-
Complain about Scott.
Yeah,
I don't want a
That's not
complaint
my-
because someone didn't get their
That's not
roll
what
call
I'm
and I
looking
gotta.
for.
The reason
Frankly,
I
I'm scared of
take-
Sam,
The
so.
reason I take most of the calls is because if you don't answer a phone call when somebody's trying to make a reservation or has a question about a campground, they're gonna go somewhere else.
They lose it.
If I don't take that call and forward them to Lyle, then they're gonna go somewhere else and make their reservation.
Can I say one thing on that phone? In that campground,
Campground phone.
that phone was taken out down there so I wouldn't get the call. Didn't wanna pay the bill. So they got rid of the cell phone. And then all this discussion a year ago over the park phone number not being listed and everything, it was supposed to automatically run on my phone after she went home. And it never got transposed. It never got taken care of. Just like so many things don't get taken care of here once they're decided on. We decided we were gonna take and put some trees down there. 3 trees. Nothing's been done since then, right, Rob? This stuff gets dropped. And here's where we are on this phone. There is absolutely no reason why that number can't revert over into my phone after hours.
Because
And I'm gladly take the call.
Not all of the calls that come to my office are for the campground.
That's correct,
Campgrounds.
but the campground number can go over there.
I don't understand why we don't have a campground phone number.
We do.
I mean, it goes directly to the campground and someone calls and then it goes to Lyle afterwards.
Because he's not here 12 months out of the year. Who's supposed to take the reservations while he's not here?
Isn't that why we
Computer.
have an online system for reservations? Isn't that why we spent all that money? So people can go online and do it themselves?
They do have some problems online, but yes, that's what the purpose was.
Well,
If
I would
can
like
address
to see
the
Rachel
phone-
taking less of her personal time. I don't like the idea of her having to take phone calls
I
at 1
agree
o'clock.
with
That's
that.
just not right.
Yeah, that isn't right.
That's not right.
She shouldn't have an after.
You know, I'm the chair of my committee. If someone's gotta call me at midnight and tell me something, so be
Have
it.
you guys looked at the system to truly know how it works and why these things are happening?
I'm talking about taking phone calls. in the middle of
And
the
that
night.
is part of the system and why it is happening. Have you looked at it to find out?
Are you, the computer system? Are you saying, have I looked at the computer
If somebody
system?
calls this office because the number is listed to make a reservation instead of Lyle's, and she gets that call, that's why them calls come. She forwards this entire office there. That's all that is. It's a very simple
You said to
process.
there, what's
To
there?
her phone.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Now, to address the phone situation in the campground, it was never taken out to save $70. It was never taken out to wipe a number out. It
Joe,
was, Lyle, now you can listen for a minute
just
too.
stand still a minute.
Okay, you got a little loud there and you got grumpy. Now let's put it in perspective the way it was. That phone was taken out because you complained that the answering system part of it didn't work. So we made a decision as a council to give you a cell phone that you could have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because when you went out fishing, you couldn't get the calls. So
Joe,
we took the phone out and gave you a cell phone that you should have
I
24 hours a day.
never complained about the answering system. I complained about not being able to take and get the phone number off the answering system. Because when people put the phone number on the answering system, they run through
You
the phone
complained
number.
about the system, so we give you a cell phone that you had with you 24 hours a day. When you went fishing, you could get the calls. When you were up to the bathroom, you could get the calls. So we weren't missing calls. That's why the other phone was there. I'll admit, it was a huge oversight to lose that number. I'll admit that. It's not, We've worked to get the numbers put back on, we've worked to try to get them brought back to where that same number rings again. We're having difficulties with it.
And it's not even listed in a phone book.
Lyle's number.
No, it's Central Lake Village.
I believe I went through that and found them in the phone book, didn't I?
Not the
Yeah.
local ones. Not the phone guy, sorry.
I'll look into that one.
But nobody knows how to get
Which-
local support.
just-
which
just
is
to
too much for
clarify,
Rachel.
Just to clarify exactly what are you looking at? The
Central
village,
Lake-
village of Central Lake?
Central Lake Village, the chamber is there, it always has been listed as Central Lake, Chamber, Central Lake Village, then it has the office below it. You look at last
Is
year's,
that under
Joe,
the
look
village
at
of
last
Central
year's.
Lake now? I believe it's listed under village of Central Lake, but I'll look into that one.
Okay, you look at the phone right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just one comment, sitting back here listening, I never once did I hear Rachel complain about taking all these phone calls. Her objection was that you were questioning what she did with her hours she wasn't in the office. I honestly think you would thank her for taking those phone calls for you instead of make this last 15-minute discussion about how terrible it is she does it. Never once did I hear her complain about it. She willingly took on that responsibility. She was just making the point that you want to know what she does outside of those whatever office hours are, 32, that's what she does. She uses her time doing these other things, like Bill said, so the pressure's not on new trustees who make a lousy amount of money a year and don't need phone calls all hours of the night. So I think it turned into something
Are
it's
you
not.
saying she's taking 8 hours of phone calls?
I'm saying, do you know how many Fridays she's been in the office doing book work? Outside of her office hours?
That incorporate her 40 hours.
Yes, that's what I'm saying, there are hours that get worked that aren't the posted office hours, and the intent was to give her time without public distraction or anything to do those duties. Because ask Joe, we had numerous discussions about how to make that split. So,
And that's where I feel, Ken, that she should not be taking phone calls when she's off.
I would probably personally agree, but I think we're making the issue, she's not objecting to taking the calls at this time, is what I'm hearing back here.
She should not be taking calls when she's home.
Yeah.
No way, that's not right. She wasn't hired to do that. She was hired to be a clerk treasurer, period.
No,
She's not hired to be going out here and doing
Taking phone
12/7 or 10/7, what do you wanna call it? That's not right. That's interfering with her private life. And I don't agree with that one.
I'm trying to get her help and she refuses. The deputy clerk treasurer,
Well,
we've always had one in the past.
it isn't up
If
to
something
her.
happens to her, we got somebody sitting there.
Not to her, no,
It's in
that's
her
not
job description.
her job description, but that doesn't.
But
mean
the
we
council
can't.
here, and it's gonna be on next month, this is one of my other points I was gonna bring up. Next month, we're gonna talk about this under an action item of hiring a deputy clerk and treasurer.
Absolutely.
She has to do it because we direct her to do it. I mean, it's part of her job description. I've read that. I think she can use the help. She refuses to admit that. Instead, she prefers to take the phone home 24 hours a day, and sooner or later, it's gonna catch up to her. No individual can do
Right.
everything. And the attempt to give her everything, I think, was totally unfair. It put her in a position that she could not win anything.
And I
agree
have
with
to
that one.
agree, I have
I
to agree
do.
that I think, I
It's not
felt that
right.
she was set up for failure. And she's a wonderful worker.
Am I failing?
No, I
Is
just
there anything that's
said,
not
But
getting done?
Is
My
there
question.
anything that's not
I
getting
don't-
done?
I don't feel that you should be doing this on the weekend. You need to have your time, Rachel.
But I
So
do
we're gonna have
it
a
because
deputy
I'm
clerk cover the phone on the
dedicated.
weekend, is what you're saying.
I'm
No,
not
but we could
saying-
have a deputy clerk in on Fridays, if she's attended meetings or two during the week and doesn't feel, has her 40 hours in,
If you
a
want me
deputy
to
clerk
work
can come
40
in,
office hours, I will work 40 office hours.
and then go home and answer the phone. No, I don't want you to do that. I don't think one individual should have to do all of that.
And I agree to that
And
one.
I've
You've
done
had
it
a
for the
deputy
last
clerk
2
in the
years.
past.
I
You
understand,
wouldn't
you have
one
done it
now.
for the last 2 years.
Why, there hasn't been any problems.
There will be. You're not that strong. I mean, you're a young girl, do you want to devote your life to something like this?
It's not fair.
Yeah, that's uncalled for, Larry.
Yeah, I know.
It's fair.
Well, you know, I get fed up with this crap so much.
We all do.
I'm the one that's being harassed and put in a hostile environment every single day. Have I said anything to anybody besides confronting you about my issues with 2 of the council members? Because I have problems and you've done nothing.
You've done nothing that you know. I've done nothing that you know about. That's true.
But when it continues to happen,
And I'll continually try to work on it so it doesn't happen. I can't seem to get through the culture that's been created.
So you're not accepting any responsibility for your statements?
Yeah, I'll accept all responsibility for my statements.
Oh, okay, but you said it. All right.
I don't have a problem. They want to sue me, fine.
Are we gonna do anything about item number 5 from the lawyer? What are we gonna do about any,
I think this is one of the things where we're saying, if we know what a committee is supposed to do, we know what the Parks Committee is supposed to do, we know what the DPW, the law enforcement, right now, I don't know what Rod's committee is actually supposed to do. Sam comes, gives his report, but when we look at it, we've talked about this before, does the DPW have are we all following the master plan? Are we looking at the things we actually put in the master plan and executing it at? And where do the committees engage in making sure master plan stuff is done? I think that, each committee person needs to look at what their 3 people are doing, when, why, what's your plan? I mean, because right now, we got people that, we have no plans. We don't have, the only thing we have going for us is the Thurston Park thing. I mean, that's the only long-term thing that's going for us right now. It's not us saying, wow, let's have this Parks Committee and be having, next year let's plan some programs for the kids, or let's get the new something done, or, Scott got us the car, but, maybe we can be proactive instead of reacting all the time. Like plan ahead, not wait for shit. Ban on this.
well, I want to narrow our scope of discussion down to employees, because that's what this whole thing started from. Who do we go to if there's a grievance against an employee, the citizen comes to us? And I say, I'm not comfortable with it. It would be Scott, he is a direct supervisor. That's what I'd like to clear up under number 5 right now. I think Larry should be involved. And maybe,
I personally think the president should oversee all the employees, and it is a council decision for disciplinary or whatever, and if there's something to be done or whatever, the committee makes a recommendation to the council.
I agree to that.
I do too. I thought that's
That's
the way it
what,
was.
to me, I thought that's why I passed on the
Well, that's why I
complaints to the
thought-
president.
With our park, we always thought we had to discuss it, our committee, and then bring it before the council.
And as personnel, when I receive these complaints, I pass them to the
Well,
president.
but like Lyle says, we've had our committee and we talked about putting in trees, but now, at what point does the committee step away and say, okay, Sam, go buy some trees? At what,
Well, when the
who,
council
is
asks
it up
me-
to Larry or Rachel to figure out, oh, we have read these minutes, I need to order 3 trees? Who,
on the 3 trees, we put it on hold because we were gonna do it.
I know, I'm just using this.
Oh, see,
that might be a
15
great
minutes
thing
ago,
for
you asked about the 3
administrative
trees.
assistant.
And the 3 trees we're gonna put on hold till next spring, when they start bringing in all the
All the other
renovations.
stuff.
That's where
We're
you're.
gonna do
I
it in spring.
guess you're right.
So-
about that.
So-
Which
so-
is-
But that was just an example, otherwise there
Trees
wasn't.
are in motion.
Hey, Rob, to kind of help with this, to clarify it, whose job is it to help to keep things from falling through the crack?
Right.
I thought we hired an administrative assistant that could do them duties.
Well, maybe we need to relook the,
Lela, why can't she do it? What gives you pause for concern?
Relook the job description because
She's
I
one
don't,
person, and you're putting her on 7 days a week,
Okay.
24 hours a day, come on.
We're not.
yeah,
Why?
where is
No
that
way.
written in her job
No.
description somewhere that she's
No,
24/7?
what was done, she was getting a lot of the reservation calls. We were missing a lot of reservations and losing revenue. So we tried to find a way that when people called to ask them questions, that somebody could ask and answer, and to have somebody go. A lot of times, the clerk has to go to Bel Air, and calls come in. People wanted to, she has her calls forwarded to her, and
That's legit during business hours.
If we
That's
wanted,
totally
if we
legit.
wanted to shut that phone off for the evening, that's fine. I'm not against telling her to do that. I think we'll lose revenue in Chapman. Because of people, there are some people that if they can't get a hold of a person to talk to, are gonna go to American Town where they can get a hold of somebody. Where our campground is up 8% from the previous year.
But I don't think that has any correlation with Rachel getting midnight calls.
I agree.
I don't think that
Midnight calls,
that's bringing in the kind of money
I
that
think it
warrants,
has a good correlation that we're not losing as many, you know?
What's more important to having Rachel's health? I'm concerned about her health. I'm sorry. I think she's a worker, she's a hard worker, and I don't want to see her overdoing it. And I wouldn't want anybody, would you want to do it yourself?
I do.
See? I know.
No, I do, I'm up to my phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Fine,
When it
that's
rains,
your-
I go to work.
But you're on 24 calls.
What's that?
That's your choice.
That's
That's
the
right.
job I chose to do, yes.
right, right.
And
After hours,
apparently,
after hours, there should be many campground calls going to her because their campground number is on the website.
Absolutely. So it should come right directly onto him, not to her.
Well, let's try to
Okay.
stick with what Rob's saying and knock out number 5.
Okay?
Or we can mull this over for a month and come back and discuss it.
I'm fine with that as well.
You want to table that?
Aired some laundry tonight that needed to be aired.
I do have another question for you.
Sure.
Mr. Eckhardt. The police car and the grant, I'm understanding that, well, it's still his report there, but it's, I'm understanding that the car has been totally purchased now, the new car. Has the grant been signed and finished? USDA grant?
I do not believe it has been signed and finished because the USDA person has not arrived to do it.
Okay. I didn't know, is why I asked. That is,
Any other questions for the president's report?
Could you, just so the public knows to hear it around town, I think the public's confused on the park grant. Could you just, a brief synopsis of what's going on with that? 'Cause I hear a lot of questions, I don't know, so just a.
The property at the end of Intermediate Lake by the east side of the bridge is ours, title free. That allows us to pursue the grant, and we met with Gordy Frazier's. I sent the document that the state wanted to say that we own the property. There's 2 maps that Gordy Frazier said that they would do, just comply with that. From this point forward, bids will probably be let out in the winter because we should get a better deal. Construction would begin in the spring.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you for asking. Anybody else? Approval of the bills. Prepaid $48,119.82. $5,845.53. $10,362.85. Total $64,328.20.
You make a motion to pay the bills.
second it.
Moved and supported, any discussion? Roll call?
Bodley,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Thier,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yep.
Zelenak.
Yep.
Eckhardt.
No new business, action item, the bids, we received 2 since the last meeting. One was for $1,783, the other one was $1,701. We do not have to accept, we can deny.
Make a
how do we
motion
wanna
to
proceed?
deny and let it sit for a minute.
I got a question on that though. Reading, the minutes, from last month, the motion that was made to lower it to 4,500 or best off. There was no, from what I've seen with any of the postings or any of the motions made, there was no language put in there that the village has reserved the right to accept or deny. Do we still have the right to deny that? I believe we do.
Yes, we do.
It's wrote in your policy, so why wouldn't you?
It's just a question I have because the motion was or best officer or offer and there was no other language
But
with
we
it.
don't have to accept that low offer. That's our legal right to deny any offer.
I don't know, I just asking a question. It's someone I
As
don't
far as
know.
I know, we can't
Okay.
deny.
I'm gonna make the motion to deny them and at least let it sit another month or, I mean,
Can we
that's
drop
worth
it?
twice that.
Can we drop it down to 4 again now? Instead of 45 or even 35? We knew when we looked at the value of that car, it was anywhere from 2,800 to 5,000 depending. It may not just be a desirable car, who knows? I mean,
Take it down another 1,000? What do you think,
Maybe
Bill?
we take a look at it a different way, and instead of looking at the value of it, look at what they're selling for. Not what they want for them, let's look at what they've actually sold for, we can do that online too.
well, that's what,
Get an
that's what
idea
I,
of-
that's kind of what I've looked at in the
Like
way
the Kelly
from
Blue
Kelly
Book?
Blue Book and
Yeah, I-
Craigslist and,
When I looked at it, it was, high, 3 was the highest I seen that they're selling for.
Scott pulled up a bunch, he had a bunch of printouts for us. I think the highest one I seen was like 53 or 55, and that's why we went to the high side and figured we'd go down. But I'm not against dropping it a little bit, but.
Why don't you just put a price on it and sell it like you did the pickup truck? This has been going on for 2 months, you sold the pickup truck within a couple
It's not
weeks.
hurting anything sitting
Yeah,
there.
with the pickup truck, there are already people interested in buying it when it comes.
Is it costing
Yeah,
us money having it
That was
sitting
not,
there?
Marshall was the one who wanted that.
Not an
But he
insurance
wouldn't pay
item?
that much for it.
No,
I
we
don't
put
think
the blanket insurance, so it doesn't matter.
Just that storage.
Are you gonna,
We can hit a hundred.
Yeah, I'm gonna-
I'll second
The motion was what?
To
Repeat that,
deny,
please.
to deny the, not accept the bids as they are, and if we need to lower the price, then,
You making that one?
yeah.
I'll support it.
What do you want, what do you price it?
We gotta get it done.
We got it at 45 right now, or, yeah, 45.
Would you take 3 for it if we get that? Put it-
I would, okay.
put it-
Yeah.
I would.
Good idea.
Sell it at 3.
You know, it's-
35 and then sell for 3.
Minimum bid of 3.
You can't tell them ahead of time.
You say 3.
What's gonna make them?
I would say 3, I think 3 would probably be a good fast sale.
What's that?
Why don't we just put a for sale sign up for $3,000 and let it sit there? We don't wanna take less than 3 right now.
My question is, what magical thing's gonna happen and somebody's gonna bid more money? It's been out there 2 months and you were bid $1,700. Now, you're gonna say we want 3 and somebody's gonna
Don't
say,
wanna do it.
I'll give you 3. I mean, what do you expect to happen?
Deny the bids as they are and make the price be $3,000.
And I would support
Just
it.
sell it or bid
Just-
process?
just- Sell it, get it done.
Yeah.
Just as we did.
Get it done. Yes.
It'll go.
Get it off the lot.
Yep.
Take it.
$3,000.
I hope we do.
That's
We'll
what
do
it was.
about the same thing sitting there.
We'll use
Yeah.
private prices.
Figure 10%.
We got 3 guys, gave you
Put it
3
out,
guys.
bid it out for 3, they bid it up for 38 and get the thing out.
Okay, we got a motion over here that says to deny the bids, lower the price to 3,000, and say that's it.
Just outright first come, first served. Is that what your
Yep.
motion was?
Leave this up.
Lela seconded. Any further discussion of that motion?
Roll call.
Roll call, we'll do a roll call.
Bodley,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Thier,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yep.
Zelenak,
Yes.
Eckhardt.
Yes. Nomination for DDA, we received 2 letters.
But the DDA never made an official suggestion of who they wanted to appoint.
That is correct.
I believe they tabled it.
Oh, really? I think that's an important thing,
Yeah.
that they make a recommendation
Yeah, I
to us.
agree. So I'd
we
like
table
to
that?
scratch this
Okay.
until we get the real recommendation.
So you're making a motion to table?
Yes, yep.
I second that.
Okay. Sam, Approved water meter upgrades, can you explain what that's about?
The only reason that's on there is we usually run about 60 water meters broke per year, you know, roughly. And we're at 50% right now, of them 60 are repaired. The problem is if I buy 30 new water meters, actually 32 because you buy them 16 in a box to get the discount, I'm gonna go over budget in my water. And the reason being is, under water repair and maintenance, I got 6 blacktop holes. I got a blacktop here next week. That comes out of my water account to fix that blacktop. So if I take it out of there and I buy 30 more water meters, I'm way over budget in the water department. Vice versa, if I take the blacktop out of the local street fund, where the patches are at, then that one's gonna go over budget. So it's, and I've never been this close to having all the water meters fixed in the village since I worked for the village, 25 years.
So what you're asking?
My goal this year was to get all the water meters fixed. Well, with all the water main breaks I had this year, and I gotta pay to get them put back, it's taken all that money that I originally had budgeted for water meters.
How much over budget are you thinking?
Well, I'm thinking my patches are gonna come in at $6,000, and that's gonna put me right at my limit of what I budgeted.
So,
I mean, I'm right on.
10,000 appropriation from fund balance is what you're thinking?
Yep, that's what I'm thinking, but that's why I want your guys' opinion.
Can you split the patches up between the two?
It's still not, it isn't gonna matter, because I'm still gonna put the other one
Just put them both
over
over.
at that point.
Is that truly right to do? We're doing the patches because the water mains broke. The water
Right.
department should pay for them patches.
That's right.
Not the streets.
The street should not pay for them, because the water's what made them break.
No, so
And in years past, that's where I've always took it out.
Rod's water.
Broke my road again.
Broke your world.
And 32 water meters is roughly $4,000, 4 to 4,500, depending on how much I go up in between. And right now, to date, I got 1 water meter left at the garage, and we saved that because I got a new construction going in down here.
Would you have time to get them all done if you?
If I get 30 more meters in my shop, 30 more meters will go in the hole no matter what. That was my goal going into this summer, was to cut back on some of the other stuff we did and get them water meters repaired to the best of our ability.
Would you get a better deal by going to 32?
The more you buy.
Two spares.
So you'd have, yeah, you'd have a couple spares in case.
Well, yeah, I always got a couple spares, so.
I think that's a good idea.
But like I said, it puts us over budget.
Yeah.
Where I budgeted $15,000 for repair and maintenance supplies, and maintenance supplies are the water meters. And by the time I do the water, all the patches of the blacktop, I'm over budget. I can guarantee you that.
I'll make a motion that we move $10,000 from fund balance into the water account and have Rachel make that appropriation or transfer documentation for us next month.
I'll support that. Both of us will.
Been moved and supported, any further discussion on the motion? Let's roll call it.
Just a budget amendment. Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Thier? Eckhardt?
Yes.
Thier?
You.
Tyler?
Yep.
Zelenak?
Yes.
Chapman?
Yes.
Who seconded that? Lela?
Yeah. And all that'll be just budget.
Yeah.
Okay, campground rules and reservation, primarily it's the E we scratched,
Okay.
right?
Yep,
Yep.
we're on F.
We're on F, campground rules and reservation, primarily reservation. We need to make a decision with respect to how far in advance somebody can make a reservation at the campground. We're running into issues of people wanting to reserve 2 years out, 1 year out. The state, I think, goes 6 months out before you can make a reservation. I think we need to make that and then be consistent with it throughout our time.
Why would we ever want to not allow somebody to make a reservation, taking a guaranteed reservation? I don't care if it's 7, 8 years, and if it's 10 years, why not take that because you know it's a guaranteed reservation?
The thing is, Joe, you don't have to sit here and listen to the complaints. People are loading up down there. Right now, I've got over 60 reservations for next year 2 weeks.
Isn't that
before the
wonderful?
drill. That's fine. But you're upsetting some people with that. My recommendation would be to take and close it, the first of the year, give everybody the same chance.
Everybody has the same chance.
Why does the
Reservation-
state do it that
No,
way?
they
I
don't.
don't know.
No, they
Everybody
don't.
has the same chance because it's open and going, it has been for years, nobody's lacking behind on it. Everybody has the same chance right now. And what you're saying, I guess if I'm reading this right, is you would rather make the people who are unhappy right now happy and the people who are happy right now unhappy.
No, I'm
You're
trying
just
to
taking
put
one
it on
together.
an even playing field
It is.
for everybody. No, it's not.
I don't understand how it's not.
No, it's not, because they come in here and then they load it up. They come in and load the park up.
So now, but I have a concern from a camper at Site 11. She has a fifth wheel, and this is her from 521 to 627. She was in Site 12, excuse me, I misspoke. 627 to 629, she had to move to Site 21. 830 to 913, she has to move to Site 32. 629 to 712, she will have to move to Site 6.
What?
I'm finished.
No.
Let me finish.
Okay.
She has got to move 4 times this year. So now, with a year in advance, that problem would be solved. So now, let me finish.
Okay.
I talked to the Director of Reservations from the Michigan State DNR, Christina Stuttgart-Good. I'll give her phone number if you would like. 15 years ago, they gave a year-out reservation system. They did not continue that system because in the parks system, they collect full payment. So oftentimes people would have $100 out there for a full year. So now they went to 6-month booking window from that date of whatever it was. So if you wanted to book for next July, you'd have to wait till sometime in December. That is the reason they went to 6 months, and people were frustrated because their money was being used for 12 months. Now, modern lodging, anything with a roof, a pavilion, cabin, such as they do in the Porcupine Mountains, they have a 1 year in advance policy, full payment in advance. Currently, I asked her, what is your growth rate in your campgrounds for the Michigan State Parks? She said between 9 and 10%. She asked me, what is ours? I said our off-the-water sites are between that as well. I said our on-the-water sites, 2 through 10, are averaging 14% increase. She said that's incredible, that we have that great of an increase on our sites near the water. And this is from the Director of Reservations from the Michigan State Park. So now, that is the Director talking. Nobody around here.
My concern, I don't have any problem with it, as long as we've got a date out there so they know where they're going. That 6-month
Okay.
deal is fine, I don't have a problem. But these people gotta know what we're gonna do.
Definitely.
That's the big concern out there is, what are they gonna do?
I agree.
I like
And
that,
then
it's
far as that-
open all the time. If they wanna reserve 10 years out, let them reserve 10 years out.
The only problem with that is, from my perspective, is that that park is designed to bring in visitors to this community. And I think the more different ones that we can bring in, the longer term, we'll have an influx of different folks that is good.
So if I were to comment on that, what you're saying is you would rather not take the ones you know are gonna be here for the ones that may come in as a new structure.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
somebody
that's-
could book a year in advance or 7 years in advance and go, oh, I'm 6 years out, I'm not taking this reservation, so we've denied someone a spot for 6 years?
You still pay for it.
You still got your deposit.
We're-
I mean, I'm not against staying
If
here,
you're
don't get me
still-
wrong,
Yeah,
if that's what the
out
council
the window
chooses.
and
I
you
just
still lose
personally,
half your money.
I'm
If they
not-
have their deposit,
I know,
fine, but what about the
gamblers,
grocery
I'm
store,
not-
the Bachman's,
So-
drugstore? They're not getting any new business because these folks have
These folks
reserved
that,
out 7 years.
these folks that are reserving up for 7 years, it's gonna be so rare that they don't show up, because they're already been showing up for the last 15 years, and that's why they wanna do this.
Why don't we just make it simple for these
Reuse
people
it again.
to follow? This is the problem.
It's a benefit to do
We
it that way.
want
Exactly.
money, and we wanna grab as
And
much
that's
as
one
we
thing we have to
can.
do with kayaking.
Gary?
We had a snob hill down
And
there
there's only 200
years ago.
permits per.
Terry, please,
She asked me
Hear
a
what he's
question.
saying.
I know, he has the
Speak
floor.
after.
We had a snob hill down there. When I come up here, there were very few campers on that hill. When I first started out.
What year was that?
Huh?
What year was that?
1970.
Huh?
That was 70.
Oh, no, I thought you meant you were campground manager.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I misinterpreted.
No, the Snot Hill was back in the 70s and early 80s. The people died off. They used to have fights down there and everything to get a site. It was the same old people. They'd come in there and set the trailer down and leave for 30 days, or maybe 45 days before they'd come back on. Let's not start that. Let's get a set date up there. Go for a year at a time and leave it go. Leave these people know what we're gonna do and leave them make their reservations. But to go out there 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, 7 years, all you're gonna do is take and hold their money. That's all you're gonna do. You're not doing anything for the community. You're not doing anything for the community.
How many people have we already got asking us to do a reservation out 2, 3 years? Nobody's asked for any for like 6, 7 years.
I got at least 5.
You had 5, well, when I went in and talked to Larry, and I said, this 2017 is not good because it's gonna create problems, so we decide nothing below after the 16th. Then we'll decide on this meeting how far in advance they can go.
I make a motion for 2 years.
Any support to that motion?
I'd like to discuss it a little more first.
Mm-hmm.
I think if we look at it from, are we running it as a business, are we running it as a community service, or what is it we want?
It's both.
Do we wanna make money on it? Do we wanna keep it rented?
I don't think we have to make a
Or do we
whole
wanna
lot of
make it
money.
available for locals? Do we wanna restrict it?
You have to make money to continue to support
I
it.
said, you don't
And that's-
have to go for making all that money. If we got enough to support the campgrounds,
We need it for future, you have to make money so you can continue to put money into the
I agree,
campground,
but
make
we're
it
not
grow as
losing
it
We're not
money.
losing any money.
We're-
We're not gonna lose any money if we say to someone, you can, if people
1
know
year.
they've gotta book a year in advance, they'll book a year in
Right.
advance.
If we come down to what we have done, and I keep going back to this, what we have done has increased the revenues and the rental rates 8%, was it, Rob, or 60%?
Well, we had, when
Which
you,
ones?
when you created it.
What we just did, just off an average, what was our increase?
9.25 increase off the water, on the water, 14.35.
Okay, so we've made an increase since
Well,
last
that's
year, so why
because
would we
we've
wanna change it?
implemented a computer system and made improvements. It's got nothing to do with
I don't-
It has
reserving a
to
hundred
do
years in
with
advance.
everything that we did, so why
No,
change
no, that's what
something
I'm
that's working?
saying.
I don't believe there is any reason why this park should not take an increase. Basically, on every year, unless we got a downturn in the economy like we had. If we put it in there a year, those people are, the more people we get in there, the more reservations we're gonna get for the following year, because they're gonna be acquainted with our campground. This is the purpose for the flyers that we got out here.
Yeah.
We want those people to come in. Get those people in here. We go down here 7 years, that we get a cancellation. What good is that gonna do?
It's kept someone else from getting.
Do
their
something
spot.
simple for these people
So
and leave them handle it.
if we make it a yearly, so we
Yearly,
can
that's not
reserve
happening.
next year,
Don't just
this
do
year.
it. Yeah.
Well, all right, we've already got reservations for 2016, we can't change that because we agreed to do it. All right, supposing we start from next year, say, for 1 year, so the first of the year you make your reservation for that particular year.
No.
No,
Sorry,
no,
I
No,
know,
I'm
I
asking you this.
Yeah.
Go
I
1
see what
year
you're saying.
out.
Do we have any reservations currently for 2017?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so
We do?
we already have 2
We
years out.
have got one,
So why,
we,
obviously people wanted to do it, or somebody did.
that's correct. But there again, you go and look at it, you're gonna find people there that's gonna, same people, time and time again. You're not turning over these bodies.
But that you just said when you first moved up here, you said called it, quote, Snob Hill, that the same people
Oh, that
were
was
there.
on that one section.
That was your.
But those people are still there, so it
Are
doesn't
they-
matter.
They died off.
No, those people are not there anymore.
I was gonna say, if we're running this business, we don't care who
But
we have
these
should be fair.
people want it, and they're paying us their money, and I don't wanna look at it as a huge business thing. Yes, it has to be lucrative, it has to make money, it has to be self-sustaining. All these things have to come into play. This, you've got somebody who wants to pay you 70, they wanna be there in the next 2 years. Why is their money not good enough to hold a reservation?
No, you may, if you get too far out, like 7 years out, and we have.
Well, let's go 2.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if you get further than a year out, maybe you don't know what kind of problems you're gonna have, what kind of updates you wanna do, what changes you wanna make. You may lose a lot if you're only 1 year out on everything.
Well,
Maybe
one
it'll be
thing,
a lot easier to compensate for it than.
If there's one thing I can say, is what Rob just told you about that lady from the DNR. I guarantee you they spent millions of dollars to get them numbers that Rob just gave you. Between the 6 months and the 1 year, that kinda answered your question.
So Lela, I got a question. You said a year out. You mean like January 1, we open it up, like?
yeah. I'm
So not like
asking,
a year,
A year running, a year from today, a year from tomorrow, a year from.
or do you mean 1 calendar year from?
in other words, in January first, make
The window-
reservations for that year,
The window opens.
window open, so that only 1 year.
That should just shut down 1 year out from every day it
In
is.
January, you have it opened up for that year.
Well, that's.
But that's what I'm
Are we
asking, is that better, or just taking 1 year and
What other
then?
way is there to do it?
Well, I say we looked into it before, and the problem with that is a lot of people are planning their vacations long before that.
Right,
So when I'm planning my vacation, I'm gonna go to Central Lake for 2 weeks.
Again,
I'm gonna call Central Lake and say, can I get a reservation for this lot for July the 4th through the whatever?
yeah.
And if they say, well, we can't take your reservation until January, well, what am I gonna tell my boss? I wanna schedule my vacation now. If I wait till January and I call January the 3rd and you say, well, sorry, it's all full.
What if we just use the terminology of 1 year in advance, or 2 years in advance?
Like, we take and follow the state guidelines. People are familiar with the state guidelines. They can,
Because-
let's
There would be a
follow
good,
that.
certainly a good.
Because,
Do what the state of Michigan does, make the people pay the fee right up front.
yeah, if you wanna follow the state
That's
guidelines,
what I
you have
have
to follow
to do
all
when I
of it.
go to a Michigan State park, I pay my whole fee right up front.
Yep.
The whole reservation fee, I pay it right up front.
But
That way people are not gonna reserve 7 years out because they're not gonna free their, they're not gonna
Might not be
Yeah,
there.
but we don't keep their money. We keep their money.
Real simple.
Well, and that's
We gotta
where,
set.
that's where your terminology language comes in.
It's non-refundable after up to 30 days prior to your camping.
And you gotta put a disclaimer in
Further out, then you can. But they don't let go
Why
on.
don't they just go over
Yeah,
here and do
that's
It's
it?
something maybe like the committee can kind of narrow down some rules and bring us back so that we have something actually on paper to talk about next meeting.
It's not going anywhere, we can't do
I mean,
anything about
it's
it until
not,
the end
yeah,
of the
it's
season.
not a crucial thing
Over
today.
here now.
Nice try, Rob.
Well, we can, Rob, we can do something about it. We won't, we are
You
gonna
can't do
have,
anything about it right now.
no, but we have to make the rules for next year. In other words, 2016, we've already got reservations, okay, then we have to set, okay, as of that year, we have to set it up for what we're gonna do the following year, so we have to set the rules up now.
We can set the rules to where you could never go past the next calendar year. If that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that means like in 2015, anytime through, you can make a reservation for any time through 2016.
Right,
The minute 2016 comes,
You go to
You can do-
17.
Oh, that's
100%
crazy.
of 117.
17,
That's
right.
crazy.
Yep.
Just do
That
what
would-
Bill
You
said.
can't do it right
That's-
12 months, you gotta do calendar year something.
Yeah, you can set your reservation system to only let you book 1 year out. I know that for a fact. So, you got a great system that's working. It's as simple as, if you wanna let them go 1 year, why don't you just say, okay, every date, you can do it. The reservation system can no longer let you go beyond 1 year from that day. Whether what the day is, you're always 1 year out.
Right.
Because what you have is working. You
It does.
know? And I agree, Lyle, there's gotta be some set
Well, you're
rule.
out from what you are.
No, the date, July 8th, you can go on there and get a booking for July
But
8th
suppose
Next year,
your,
exactly.
suppose
July
your
9th, tomorrow you
vacation
get one
has
for
a
the
different
day.
time.
Tenth, you get one for the 10th.
After July 8th.
That's what these people are
No,
asking.
no.
They're
If
asking
you're
for
running
it.
12 months instead of a calendar year.
Yeah, just always 1 year
You're
out.
running 12 months from today.
Yeah, we can't book it, you couldn't book it for 16 and 17.
So if we
But
go
you
that
grant
month,
it
are we,
for
are we
16.
talking also of it take going in full payment then as the state does?
Well, that way you get your money no matter
Well,
what.
again, though,
And-
is it gonna be higher in 16?
Well, and that's
than
where,
in
that's where my
15?
question's gonna come. Do we use a language or a disclaimer that rates may not be verifiable if you're going to raise in the next calendar
We
year?
get $100 down, right down.
I really think that
And when they
if the
cancel, they get,
committee, the three
they
of us
get
sat down
back,
together, we
they
could
do it
drop
within
some
72 hours.
general
I always like
guidelines and
full
bring it
payment
back to the
myself.
I'd like to see
70%.
that change from the 72 hours, I'd like to see it change to 30 days.
I think it ought to be changed because we're waiting to get,
72 hours, we've lost it, 30 days, we still got a chance to put somebody on there.
Yep.
when they come in and we've lost quite a bit at 72 hours. That way, just prior to 72
Are
hours.
most of the reservations more than 30 days ahead?
Huh?
Are most reservations made more than 30 days in advance?
Yeah, most of them are, this time of the year, spring and fall, they might be made a week ahead, you know.
Because right now,
This time of the year, they're made.
72 hours out, there's probably not too many people looking today to find a place for Friday.
Okay.
We've gotten a lot of,
They either have it or they're not going nowhere.
So bring this back to home then, so we're all on. 1 year from today's date,
All right.
Running
full
12 months.
payment, running 12 months, full payment, 30-day cancellation.
After 30 days, we could even put language in there that says,
And-
if it is fulfilled within that 30-day window, we'll refund your money because we
Right,
filled it.
right.
If it doesn't
Return
get
it,
filled,
yeah.
then you.
And we have to have a disclaimer on if we decide at the end of the season to raise rates for the next year, that we can't guarantee rates by whatever, we just have to have that out there. 'Cause if we, in December, decide we're gonna raise the rates by 5 bucks a campsite, somebody's gonna be upset if they aren't aware of it.
Well, we should
And they
make
have a
sure the rates are
reservation for
gonna
that
stay
next
where
year.
they're at for the next 12 months.
We have to decide that.
If, you know, that's a great option, you can guarantee that for 12 months,
We're
but,
gonna guarantee that rate till July next year.
no, that would work easy, but.
Well, they froze it in when they made their reservation.
Right.
you already
I
got
think
the
that's the
money, so
right direction.
if you do take and guarantee it for 1 year out, so be it, you still got your money.
That might be the
You
usual
lost
rate for
$35
guarantee
in a
for-
week.
I mean, it's 8th of July, I don't think we're gonna probably raise rates by January 1 or whatever. Maybe,
Rob?
I wouldn't see it.
I got a question. You talk about your family has their vacation time this time of year. What if their vacation time changes next year? I know, they've already got the reservation for next year, but I mean the
Yeah.
following year, if it's a different time. If you say 1 year from the date that they're there, how's it gonna affect them?
They're gonna book for next year.
Okay, yeah, they've
All right.
already booked,
They're already booked for next year. They
Right.
sat already and said,
Right.
we're coming the last weekend in June.
okay.
And they all sat down and already discussed it. So they're already booked for next year because everybody was there and they discussed when that date was best for
But-
them.
What I'm saying is, they're saying have a year from the date that they're making the reservations. How can they make the reservation if their date is gonna be changed the following year?
Because
Should
a
it
year
be
from
the
the
calendar
date,
year? Wouldn't the calendar year be better than the date?
the date that they're there, it gives them a whole year.
Mm-hmm.
And they can book it there and know whether or not
It
they're
doesn't have to
booked.
be the same as it was this year.
Okay.
If they wanna book for next year, and they know that their vacation time's different, they can book it for that time.
Only book the
Just make sure they book before they leave. Make sure they book for next year before they leave.
They can reserve, I mean, they don't have.
What they're asking for is
No, you wanna remember, a lot of people won't use computers.
Huh?
That's a 5-year.
I don't. I do not use computers. I have no doubt
But
my computer.
everybody that,
But that-
I know they're supposed to have a younger folk that knows how to use the computer.
And they're still doing that and then
Okay, well, what are we doing here?
Okay, I don't know, what are we doing here, Larry?
Well, Rob, did you write down the things that Joe said?
Yes, I did.
Well, can we agree to,
It's in an action item.
Oh, it is?
We have an action item on the board.
Oh, okay, good.
So if I make a motion to limit it to 1 year out from the current date,
From the current date.
full payment upfront, 30-day cancellation policy, and we guarantee the rates for that year of the reservation, that date of the reservation. That way, they're locked in. we will have to check with our reservation system to make sure that that is something that it will automatically change when people put in their reservations later, which I'm pretty sure it will.
That covers just about everything we really wanted.
Now, 30 days, we've given them 30 days to cancel.
Yep.
After that time, they lose their
No,
money.
They lose their
no,
money.
within 30 days of their reservation.
Reservation, and they lose their money if they don't keep it. Okay, I like that.
That's fair.
So that's my motion.
Well, this
We'll
$72.
second.
Yeah, you're
We
right.
got something to do.
Oh, I'm sure we have.
You know,
Yeah.
Bill already did.
Wait,
So we got
We got further discussion.
pretty much,
what did we forget?
Doesn't matter now, go ahead.
that'll handle things.
Really?
What those people are asking for is direction there.
You
And
wanna know
now
what
it's
they
just,
could-
they can make it a year in advance and leave it go, but they can't make it until before they get on site.
We have to honor the one in 2017, so. it's
Well,
already in place.
So what's gonna happen
No,
with
wait
this
a minute.
motion,
We
I'll vote
understand
yes, so then Rachel's gonna go write up a document and bring it back to us to look at again, or are we just gonna assume that all this stuff is posted to everywhere it needs to be posted and written to all the documents that need to be done? Or is this a new policy that needs to be incorporated in the campground rules, or what?
I would think it would be
try to
part
take the place of the policy we had.
Yeah.
And that goes to the communication director.
Okay, I got one question. You said you have a reservation.
Well, you know what I'm saying, I mean, I'd rather have the policy in front of me with these things in it, and then we all go, okay, let's do it.
Well, I think we want to set the policy now, knowing what it's gonna say.
Yes. Who made the reservation for 2017?
Site
Will
11.
Cox, I will touch.
But we agreed that we would not make them for 17.
We didn't agree until after she had already made it. So this one, we're gonna have to honor.
We're gonna have to eat that one.
That one we did.
Just
Is
gonna
that
have
the
to
one
eat
we're
that
talking about?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, that's acceptable.
Before we're done with that, how can we prevent somebody from moving 4 times?
That would.
That would do
Oh,
it.
that there.
That takes
Oh,
care of it.
This is gonna help it to some degree, how many days you wanna have them on site, you know? When I started over, we had 3, extended stay sites down there. 1 on the hill, 2 down below, and you also give me the right to take and have 2 on the lake. And we alternated those sites, so if somebody was coming off on Monday, I could take and put somebody on there on Sunday on another site and make that an extended stay. That's how we worked it.
If that's correct, it was 2 on the lake, 1 on the hill, all the others had no time limit.
Oh, yeah, I think the lakeside.
What is
I didn't say that they had time.
Okay.
I said we had 3 extended stays, 2 down below, 1 up on the hill, and we allowed me to take and have 2 down on the water. And I haven't had to use those this year yet
But
Okay,
on the water.
still the same, then none of the other ones had a time frame to it.
But I don't know why, Rob, I don't know why that one is moving. I really don't. I'd like to, when we get done here, if you can give me the name, I have an answer.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor, Mr. Moon?
How many days are you gonna allow on each site, because that can be an issue too. Some people think you're bulking it. I've ran across that before in parks. 2 weeks is the limit.
The only ones we got limits on down there right at the present time is the ones on the water, 14 days.
14 days on the wakefront.
I didn't know.
Just the lakefront, all the others have no
Just the
time limit.
Well, you might wanna look into that, but anyway.
We,
You got a motion?
Yes, I got
There is a motion on the floor, There is a support for that motion. Could you read that motion back, because I'm not quite sure what was said.
Don't you read it,
All
I
right.
can write it
I
all.
made a motion that we allow campers to make a reservation 1 year from the current date. That we change the policy to read full payment, and when the reservation is made, we change our cancellation policy to a 30-day cancellation policy instead of 72 hours, and we guarantee their rate for that year of that reservation.
Was there a second to that?
Yes, Bill made it.
Bill made a second. Call the motion to the floor, all those in favor?
Aye.
No,
All opposed?
here, yes.
Motion is carried. Last action item, street repair bids. We have 3 of them, a 4th one didn't submit. And
Just to answer, there was a question, what was the average stay on the lake sites 2 through 10 was 6 days. So it's not 2 weeks. One never goes up to 2 weeks. Pass on that.
I just want to clarify why I voted no, is because I prefer to see the written document before I was okay with
I
it,
would
because
normally
I,
follow
you
with you,
know,
but I think Lyle wanted to see something done and Lela did.
well, it can still be done, but that's
Yeah, it will be
why I
done.
did not support that.
Everybody has in front of them the Riley
Got lots of them.
bid.
Here's some extras.
Just hold on to them on that.
Yeah, right.
On the first page are all the streets. On the second page is the map. So you pull apart the map, and as you look at it sideways, that's actually facing west. Where it says CW Railroad, that's Herrick Street. So we're paving, which is an overlay, Herrick Street to Ballard, and I have the number 1 there, and it just shows you 1,100 feet there. And then number 2 is Herrick again. Now, the reason number 2 is different than number 1 is because number 2 is complete pulverized. The road grade has got to be removed and redone. Number 3 is Bradford Street. From Main Street, M88 to Herrick, and they're gonna completely take that one out. Number 4, Brook Street from Herrick to State Street. Now, Brook Street curves there, and it actually goes around and butts into Lake Street, but it's still called Brook Street. And that goes in front of the pavilion there. So that's gonna be paved in front of the pavilion. I would like to call it Lake Street, but it's still called Lake Street. Rushton Road, outside of town. If you look, you can see where the last overlay was done and the older overlay is still there. And you can see that cost right there. And then lastly, Howard and Ballard Street intersection, where the water is really high at that intersection. Now, in number 6, you can see that there's a paragraph there that does not include relocating existing utilities. We don't know what's under there, the gas and cable lines. If the gas company put their line far enough underground, there won't be any added cost, obviously, but again, we all know about the gas company. Moving on. So that was the Reith and Riley bid of $12,700.
Real quick, Rob, what did we allocate this year for roads?
We allocated-
114?
We took 105
Fund balance?
from fund balance last year. Yeah, we transferred saving expense of 105.
So our total road construction line was,
Is gonna be,
We transferred 105,000 in for road paving.
right, but there's some that we always normally
Well,
do for that too.
we will carry roughly a $30,000 balance within the internal fund itself.
Okay.
That could be used to make up to the
Difference of the-
112,000.
Okay, that's why it's,
Yep.
so that was the other bid. Now, pass it down, is the second bid, and I'll wait till everybody has it.
That part on Herrick Street, that we're not gonna be able to do that until after our park stuff is done, am I right?
Well, at the park meeting, they didn't seem to feel that there's gonna be any problem with that. That machinery that they're gonna bring in is not gonna crush the road. They didn't feel that that was gonna be a bearing, like we pave Herrick Street, we're gonna tear it up.
The
But
question I would have
Sam's
is
gotta
the
move
water.
the water lines too.
And them water lines are gonna go down the edge of the road now, they're
Oh,
not gonna
so
go up
we'll
in
be
the
okay.
road.
All
We
right,
have opted to do them ourselves when we have time.
thank you.
So the second one, Team Elmer's in the upper left-hand corner, items 1 through 9. They bid the same job, but this was from a year ago. And they also bid on doing a bunch of water line work. So what I did is I just took line items 1 through 9 added them up, because those are comparing apples to apples in terms of strictly paving. But now, bearing in mind, the Elmer's bid did not include Rushton Road and Ballard and Howard. And their bid came back at $154,709.50. So Team Elmer's was quite a bit higher than Reith and Riley, even without Rushton and Ballard paved. So, those are the two. We also kind of got another bid, I didn't even put it out there because Gordy Frazier came out just to do one intersection for grading was $175,874 just for one intersection. So it's not even in the ballpark. The last company, Payne and Dolan, that paving company never contacted us back after several tries. So I guess my motion, or I'll field questions now for Sam and I will.
Now, what does, if we approve, say the Reith and Riley, because that's the cheaper of them, what does that do to the work that you guys were looking at up at the corner of, with that Howard and Ballard up by Ron's apartments, is that included?
That's that there's $18,200.
Oh, okay, that's what's been staked out and looked at?
What that is,
That's item 6.
that's to take that foot and a half of dirt out of the middle of the road. But keep in mind, there's a gas main up there, people. If that gas main's only a foot and a half deep, who's ever the best talker with the gas company is gonna have to do some talking to get that gas main lowered, because there's gonna be a cost to it. Are we gonna pay it, or are they gonna pay it? I don't know. But I'm sure at that point, when we find that question out, if that gas main was only a foot and a half deep, Reith and Riley would say, okay, I understand why you won't do that intersection. And it's not gonna affect that price up there, because that's just one small piece of the scope of the project.
So if the gas main doesn't get moved, we scratch 18,000 off of here?
If it needs to be.
If it needs to be moved.
If they
Then
can.
Right,
Gotcha.
Right, okay.
Or somebody calls, Mr. Eckhardt can call the gas company and do his financial move.
This is fast.
But we know what we paid up to the uptown when we moved all that stuff.
So you're looking for a motion here, Leo?
Well, I'm fielding any more questions, I don't want to.
Was that our entire project for the year then, that we were planning and figuring and?
Yeah.
Doesn't it?
Actually, yeah, because we added Rushton Road and we added Brewer's Corner to it.
Beautiful.
Okay,
I'm gonna make the motion that we accept Reith and Riley's bid.
I'll support it.
Moved and supported to accept the Reith Riley bid for the road work in the village. They will do it this year, correct? All right, roll call vote.
Bodley,
Yes.
Chapman,
Yes.
Lela,
Yes.
Thier,
Yes.
Tyler.
Yep.
Zelenak,
Yes.
Chapman.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob, can I ask,
Business, public comment?
Larry, can I just ask one? I missed, how much of Herrick's getting done?
All of it.
If you could, all of it done?
All
Okay,
of it, all of it.
All the way,
All
okay,
the way from Ballard to State Street.
okay, thank you.
Claire? Amy?
I, in your correspondence, segment, I didn't hear, my email, I sent to Rachel on Monday.
We do have it.
You do have it, okay, I just wanted to clarify that. And, also, I have gone to the planning commission, I expressed my interest verbally there. Each time someone already submits an interest, do they have to keep resubmitting letters of interest each time?
It would help.
All right.
I think in that one too, personally, I'd like to see a recommendation from the planning commission. And that's the only reason that fell off.
Any public comment? Susie?
I would like to know, we had an issue on the 3rd of July, and do I address the chamber concerns to the park committee chairperson in writing, regarding use of the park? Is that how the council wants me to handle that?
Where was the issue? Down in the park?
The issue was that down in the park on the 3rd of July regarding the porta potties.
What was the issue, Susie? Can I ask?
The issue was where they were placed, and we had the park reserved, and there was an issue where they were placed at.
Who told them to put them there?
I did.
Okay.
Somebody came in and